Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Is the microphone on? Yeah. Okay. And just so you know, we are also being recorded today for, there was a number of people who wanted to hear this presentation who were not able to be here. So we will be all set with that. And normally Linda Chadwick is here to do our 10-minute walk down memory lane. And I got a text from her this morning that her mother was struggling with hip issues, and so Linda went to be with her and help her get to the doctor or whatever she needed to do. So we will keep her and her mother in our prayers today. With that, let us open with our God Pause devotion for today. And the devotion is about all being one body. If all were a single member, where would the body be? As it is, there are many members, yet one body. So that's from 1 Corinthians. Now you are the body of Christ and individually members of it. And God has appointed in the church first apostles, second prophets, third teachers, then deeds of power, then gifts of healing, forms of assistance, forms of leadership, various kinds of tongues. Are all apostles? Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all possess gifts of healing? Do all speak in tongues? Do all interpret? But strive for the greater gifts, and I will show you a still more excellent way. And the devotion, as Paul reminds us, that we are one body because we were baptized by the Spirit into that one body. In the body of Christ, diversity is a gift of God and a sign that God is at work to bring about growth. Thank God that you are not like everyone else. God has gifted you and made you unique to fit into the body of Christ. Our call is to be body builders. And I don't mean lifting weights here. We are here for the sake of the neighbor, and we build each other up. We find our place in the body of Christ. We need one another and gifts each other has. To help me grow, I need others who have different gifts. Everybody is somebody in the body of Christ. Today we rejoice in being part of a unique body of believers. Give thanks for diversity and be open to risk sharing your unique interests and talents with others. And our prayer, Holy Spirit, you have called us into one body. Empower us to be body builders today. Risen Christ, help us to see Christ in one another. Equipping Spirit, help us to share Christ with others and empower us to bring Christ to others. Amen. Thank you. All right, we will get right into our presentation today. I would like to begin by introducing our speaker, who I've actually gotten to know pretty well over the last year. So you know that St. Matthew's, one of the partner organizations that we are partnered with, is ERA's Senior Network. And Vanessa has been with ERA's for a little over a year. She is our Milwaukee County Outreach Manager. So she is our person. Vanessa is from the Milwaukee area. She went to Marquette, got a degree in journalism, and has been working around the Milwaukee community in various nonprofits, including one specifically dealing with senior, it's called Senior Medicare Portal. So she is well versed in understanding some of the ins and outs, particularly when it comes to scams. So she does not have a pet, but would like a cat. And she's currently living in Tulsa, so you know, if anybody has an extra cat, she can that. So with that, I'd like to introduce Vanessa Harris, who will be speaking on scams.
Thank you all for having me, letting me come here and present. If you aren't familiar with our senior network, again, we are a local nonprofit. Oh, hello. I have to be all up in the mic like this. Okay. Yeah, we are a local nonprofit in Milwaukee County and also in Waukesha County. So our mission is to support and engage older adults in Milwaukee County as well as caregivers, and then also older adults and adults with disabilities in Waukesha County. And so we do that by providing basic needs services like transportation to medical appointments, transportation to pharmacies, the grocery store. We find volunteers to help assist with grocery shopping. Last year, it's 2022 now. In 2020, when the pandemic first started, we started doing wellness calls just to make sure that we were reaching out to those people who were especially affected by loneliness and isolation with trying to stay safe. So friendly phone call program has been very popular, and then we also do seasonal yard work. So in the spring, helping people get ready for the summer, putting out furniture, cleaning out gutters, and then in the fall, breaking those leaves and doing stuff like that. So a lot of great work is happening. We don't have our 2021 numbers yet, but in 2020, we served about 1,954 people in Milwaukee County. Our volunteer drivers gave over 14,000 rides to, those important appointments, and then also to the grocery store. And then we had our volunteers make over we didn't make them make these calls, but they did about 11,000 wellness calls over the year of 2020. So I'm very excited to see overall, what we did in 2021, because, even with the pandemic raging, we've had amazing volunteers still making sure that older adults were receiving the services that they need through that. So yeah, again, over 2,000 volunteers in both of our counties, giving support to over 1,500 seniors and adults with disabilities throughout Waukesha County and Milwaukee County. Typically our client, it's female seniors, someone who's living alone independently in their house. Maybe they have limited cash flow, though there's no strict, requirement for income to join our program. But a lot of our clients do typically, have lower income. Maybe they can't drive anymore, so that definitely affects, their ability to get around, their ability to do things that they were used to doing. And then oftentimes lacks that family support. So again, ARIS is kind of here to pick up those pieces to make sure that people can stay living independently because they have that extra little bit of help. And then again, primarily in Milwaukee County, our clients are 60 and up, and then in Waukesha County, they're older adults, but we also serve adults with disabilities in Waukesha County. And then again, our services are provided at no charge to our clients, thanks to generous donations from our partners like St. Matthew's and other community groups, as well as all the hard work that volunteers are doing. So because of that, we're able to provide these services to people, and they don't have to worry about trying to find payment to get these services that they need. And then those services again include that transportation, grocery shopping, fall and spring yard cleanup, and then weekly friendly phone calls. So if you all are in need of help, if you know someone in your community who could use some help, definitely let me know. That brochure I gave you has our Milwaukee County contact information. But if you're like, oh, I got some time, I can help some people, we're also always looking for volunteers as well, because the more volunteers we have, the quicker we can get people these services and the more people we can support. So the main event, Stop Senior Frauds and Scams. A little background about that. So that began in 2016. We started doing this, saw that there was a need. People were just curious about different things happening in the community, so we put together this presentation. We've done a little over 64 presentations now, and then there's been about 1,800 people who have attended, and that includes seniors, caregivers, and just people who are kind of interested in learning a bit more. So we always kind of start the presentation with a fun little acronym called STOP. Stop Frauds and Scams. We're recognizing and we're responding. So the S in STOP stands for sounds too good to be true. It's the old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it likely is too good to be true. Some companies are offering the best of this, the best of that, but we're always telling people to make sure that you're listening to your gut, because oftentimes, someone's going to tell you the best just so they can get that information, just so that they can get your time and try to confuse you to do something that you shouldn't be doing. And then T is for time pressure. No one should be forcing you to make a snap decision. We can't emphasize enough how important it is to take that time to talk to trusted family, to talk to friends, to talk to professionals, to do your research. If anyone is ever telling you that you have to make a decision about something quickly, that's always that red flag that this might not be something legitimate. And then O, for organize your thoughts, and trust your gut. Is this a fraud? Is this a scam? We're always telling people to ask questions, to talk to people that we trust. And then again, if someone is a little too weary about answering those questions, maybe this is a scam. And then P, don't be polite. And it's okay to say no. You know, we're always told, you know, to be respectful, but honestly, these scammers aren't trying to be very respectful to you, so you don't owe them anything. So why are seniors targeted for these frauds and scams? You know, oftentimes seniors are available, you know, lots of people are retired and just have that extra time to take calls and to, you know, take visitors. Trusting, vulnerable, or polite. You know, a lot of older adults grew up in a generation where, you know, you were taught to be polite, you were taught to, you know, respect people and things like that. So it can be kind of easy to let go of those old habits and realize, like, everyone doesn't necessarily deserve your respect and your politeness. Isolation and loneliness, you know, again, especially during the pandemic, there's lots of older adults who, you know, may not talk or see anybody in days or weeks, so any kind of welcome phone call, any kind of visit could leave them susceptible to talking to someone who does not have their best interests in mind. Chronic health issues, if you're someone who is kind of going through or struggling with something, someone calls you and tells you that they have some kind of magical way to get help or treatment, or if you pay a certain amount, you can see some kind of special professional, you might take that chance if you're dealing with something like that. Also, technology can be confusing. I even get confused. I have a little niece, and it's kind of like they come out the womb with an iPad now, so she's able to do things quicker than I can. So, you know, with all this new technology updating every day, you know, you can easily get kind of caught up and do something, put some information in on accident, and whoop, now someone has your information. Also, prosperity. A lot of older adults have retirement funds, you know, they have equity, they have money saved up, and so that makes you a really big target for scammers. And then possible cognitive impairments, you know, maybe if you're having memory loss, you know, vision loss, things like that. Again, it's very easy for a scammer to take advantage of that and kind of try to confuse you into doing something you shouldn't have to do. Adjusting my notes. So yeah, for, you know, both seniors and caregivers, they definitely feel the effects of fraud. You know, depression and anxiety is a big consequence of people falling victim to fraud. For seniors, like I said, depression and anxiety, people skip meals, people can skip medical care, and that loss of prosperity and access. And then for their caregivers who are kind of dealing with the after effects of fraud, that can definitely put a strain on relationships, also cause depression and anxiety, career setbacks and trying to fix those financial setbacks. We have that quote up there, 1 million seniors who skip a meal as a result of financial fraud, and 1.4 million marriages damaged by the effects of fraud. So, you know, it impacts a lot of people when folks are victims. And again, scams affect so many people. I was almost scammed once, so it's not necessarily, only older adults are being scammed. Everyone can be a victim of a fraud or a scam. The FBI estimates that seniors lose more than $3 billion each year. Over 90% of reported elder abuse is committed by an older adult's own family member, you know, sometimes the people closest to you. And then financial scams often go unreported or can be difficult to prosecute, so they're considered a low-risk crime. So a message that we carry throughout the whole entire presentation is to continue to have those conversations with people you trust. You know, I've said it multiple times, but scams can happen to anyone, and so we really want people to know that it's nothing to be ashamed about, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. You know, I feel like sometimes that shame kind of keeps us from like, well, I should have known that, or, you know, this is so embarrassing that I let something like this happen. But I've done this presentation a few times, and people have shared instances of almost being scammed, or instances where they did get scammed and someone else would be like, oh my gosh, like that same thing happened to me. And so we don't realize that, again, it affects our whole community, and so it's nothing to be worried about or feel like someone might look down upon you, because obviously the scam artists have to stay quick and they have to stay, you know, ahead of the game, because that's how they're going to scam people. You know, we figure out what they're doing, they got to do something else. So don't be afraid to talk to people. You know, and again, all of these folks in the room right now are your community, all your family, all your friends are your community. So again, just talking to those trusted people can help keep us out of unfortunate situations. So our first module that we're talking about today is 80% goes to what? And that's how to and how to not donate to charities. So some common examples of charity scams include fundraising for veterans and military. Just because a representative from these charities are saying that they are supporting veterans or supporting military families, or that veterans or military families is in the charity name, that doesn't necessarily mean that those funds are going to the military or to active duty military personnel. Same with police and firefighters. You never really know these things. So again, that's why we're telling people, if you aren't familiar with these organizations, to make sure that you're taking the time to do some research. Same with disaster relief, especially when something's now, just in the last couple of months, there's been so many natural disasters that have happened and people have needed help. And even if these organizations are legitimate, sometimes it's coming up so fast that maybe they don't have the infrastructure to actually make sure that your funds are getting to the people that need it. So again, always being mindful to ask those questions, to double check when people are calling, especially when it's coming out of nowhere and you've never reached out to these people before. You may be at risk of that charity being kind of iffy if they refuse to provide detailed information. If they're using a name that closely resembles that of a better known reputable organization. So maybe instead of the Cancer Society calling you asking for money, the Cancer Organization of Wisconsin or something is calling you to ask money. So again, hoping that maybe you're not listening too well, you hear something that sounds kind of familiar and then they kind of pounce on that and hope that you thinking that this is a legitimate organization can easily give up your information without doing that homework and that research. If they thank you for a pledge you don't remember making, again, hopefully they're trying to call somebody that maybe has some kind of memory issues, and so if they say like, oh yeah, back in 2019 you donated X amount of dollars, hoping that you go, well, oh, I don't want them to think that I'm forgetful or I forgot that I made that donation, so okay, I'll make another donation. So just little tactics like that they try to do to confuse you. Also, again, using those high pressure tactics, making you feel like you have to give up information or you have to make a donation while you're on the phone. And also asking for donations in cash. Organizations should never be, upfront asking you for donations in cash, especially over the phone. A senior in your life may be at risk if they're showing lifestyle changes. Maybe they're isolating more, maybe they're being more secretive about where their money is going. If you're seeing unusual charges on financial statements, we had a lady in a presentation who was talking about her mom kind of had these random statements popping up on her bank bill. So when she was looking at her finances, she's kind of like, well, Mom, what's all this stuff? And then it turned out she was making, pledges and donations to someone who reached out to her over the phone. And since she didn't really have access to internet, she wasn't really talking to anybody, she just thought that she was donating it to, a local organization working with kids. So again, things to double check, definitely make sure you're talking to people. Also seeing an increase in bills and items from charities and sweepstakes. So the results of being scammed. You donate and you're done. Most of the time you don't even know what happens to your money when you give them to these people. They have your money and it's out of your pockets and into somebody else's pockets. Also, don't fall for charity scams because you could lose your money and have it be misused. Again, you're thinking you're giving it to somebody who's supporting children or supporting older adults in the community, and because there's no, secure information about them, they could just be pocketing it for themselves. And it could be difficult to trust people again. That same woman whose mother was scammed, now she has a hard time kind of giving that money back and actually putting it back into the community for fear that someone else is trying to swindle her. So how can we avoid being scammed? Again, pay attention for those high pressure tactics. Remember that no one should be forcing you to make a snap decision. If you ever do feel time pressure, they could be a scam artist. And also ask if the caller is a paid fundraiser. If you ask them, the name of the charity that they represent, it's not even guaranteed that all of your money might go to that charity. So definitely asking them if there's multiple programs, where exactly will your money be making an impact when you donate to that charity? And if they are fundraising or someone who is paid to do this fundraising, how much goes to that company that's fundraising? Because maybe only this part goes to the actual charity, and whatever company that they hired out to call you is getting a big percentage of that. So those are important questions to make sure. So, and then again, never send cash donations for security and for tax purposes. It's always best to pay by check or if, again, it's a trusted organization that you know, if you can go online and make payments through something like PayPal, it's just a lot easier to take record of, because when you pay with cash, there's no trace of it. It can just go wherever. And then if you can make sure that charity is registered by calling the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. And I think this might be in your folder, but GuideStar is also a great way to look up a charity and make sure that it's legitimate. So yeah, if this happens to you, if you do find out that you're in an issue where you have been scammed, again, talk to someone that you trust. But you can also file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission and then also your local police department. So our next module is not what the doctor orders. So this is kind of talking about diagnosing and preventing medical scams. So there's a few types of medical scams that we'll touch upon in this module. So Medicare and insurance fraud, anti-aging scams, and then also counterfeit medicine. So, Medicare and insurance scams, scam artists deceive people into sharing their Medicare numbers. And as we all know, our Medicare numbers are our Social Security numbers. So when that information is compromised, that puts us in a really sticky situation. When I was working for Senior Medicare Patrol, I used to work a lot of health fairs and things like that. And sometimes you would have these, healthcare providers or like these medical equipment salesmen kind of having surveys out. And they're like, to win a sweepstakes or you can win this gift card, just give us your Medicare number, sign your name, your email, and your Medicare number. So just being able to let people know that no one besides your doctors, besides your pharmacies, besides trusted healthcare providers should be asking for your Medicare number. It should never be a requirement in order to receive services when you go out to places. It should never be a requirement to enter any kind of contest. It should never be something that, someone's using to try and get you to win a sweepstakes or something like that. Because once they have that Medicare number, they can use it to bill Medicare for fake charges. They can sell you phony medical devices. It's basically just a lot of fraudulent behavior that we don't need to have. So an example of medical identity theft, again, someone asking for your information who doesn't need it. Approximately 250,000 Medicare beneficiaries are listed as having had their medical identity compromised through either stolen or misused Medicare numbers. So Medicare numbers, as we know, cannot be changed. So once that number has been stolen, those future benefits are kind of up in the air and at risk forever. So it's really scary, to have that number compromised. And again, that can result in higher out-of-pocket costs for that beneficiary, bills for services that a provider never okayed, and also instead of billing the correct Medicare beneficiary, those payments can go on somebody else's. So it really creates a really complicated situation. So again, only give your Medicare number to doctors, to your pharmacists, and other trusted healthcare providers and your insurers. No one else should be getting that information. So the next, we have our anti-aging scams. So we tell people some of the red flags to look for. If people are promising a quick and painless cure to something, if they're trying to give you a special or secret ancient kind of formula, if they're telling you that whatever they're giving you can cure a whole bunch of other ailments, if they're trying to sell you a cure for an incurable disease, if something is no risk or a money-back guarantee, or if they're giving you a free gift in order to take this medicine. Or if it requires advance payment, or they tell you that it's a limited supply, so you have to make a decision to purchase it now. And then with counterfeit money, or counterfeit medicine, it's basically just fake medicine. It could be contaminated, it could contain the wrong ingredients, it could have no active ingredients in it. So how to avoid that counterfeit medicine? We always tell people only purchase it from state licensed pharmacies that are located within the United States, and where FDA and state authorities can assure that the quality of that medicine is, secure. Making sure that that manufacturing and that packaging and that distribution and labeling is all regulated. And if you're buying medicine from off of the internet, making sure that the pharmacy that's listed is licensed and in good standing. So some warning signs of medical scams, again, any kind of unusual charges on financial statements or Medicare statements. any unnecessary medical equipment that's coming to your house, or supplies or vitamins or anything like that can all be signs that maybe you signed up for something that isn't necessarily as legit as it should be. And so how to avoid that, know who you're dealing with. Again, making sure that you're checking if you're unfamiliar with something, having those conversations with your doctor and seeing if they know or if they're familiar with whoever you're talking to. And again, talk to your doctor before you're buying health products or treatments. Making sure that you're keeping your Medicare card safe. And then making sure that you're reviewing your Medicare statements and other insurance statements you receive through the mail, and reaching out to Medicare if you do find that you need some assistance understanding what those statements say. If you do find, like, whoops, maybe I did accidentally put my Medicare number on, a survey or something that wasn't, as familiar to me. I wasn't at the doctor. I gave this number away. You can call the 1-800-MEDICARE number to get some assistance with those Medicare fraud claims or those potential fraud claims. And then also, again, calling your non-emergency police department. Sometimes it's really hard to make a solid case, but at least when you're calling your local police department and letting them know that this is happening, this is something that they can be aware of in the community and kind of keep tabs on how many times it's happening to people within the community. So our next module is Hi Grandma, or Hi Grandpa, it's me. So let's talk about those con artist scams. So this is the one where people are like, oh yes, I've gotten like a lot of calls about this. Some of those grandparent scams, a scam artist pretending to be a grandchild in distress, really kind of trying to prey on the grandparent's love for the grandbaby, and oh my goodness, I got to save them. They might ask you to help them out of a sticky situation. They might say that they're in jail, or they're, stuck somewhere outside of the country and they need to get back home. Again, trying to make you feel like if you don't make a decision on the phone right now, like, trouble might happen. They may ask you to wire the money, like I said, bail them out of jail, help them return home from a trip, anything like that to get you scared, to make you feel like you have to give them money because you don't know. Instead of asking you to wire money or buy gift cards, they may also ask you to mail them cash. So we've had people tell them that they've gotten calls from people saying, place bills in separate envelopes and mail them to a certain location, or maybe buy some magazines and put bills in the magazine in order to send me cash, or mailing magazines through USPS, UPS, or FedEx. So how can we avoid these grandparent scams? Definitely be suspicious, ask questions like their name, never mention the name of this supposed grandchild they have, so that they can pick up on it. Ask them like their location. Tell them that you need to talk to their parents before you give them any kind of money or before you take any kind of action. And again, no one should be asking for payment through gift cards. If someone is asking for payment through gift cards, then that's definitely the #1 red flag. It's kind of funny, we have our holiday giving program, which St. Matthew's was able to help us out with through Giving Tree, but we had one person, one of our volunteers, who went to Walmart and they tried to buy, like 20 $10 gift cards or anything like that, and the cashier, bless their hearts, was like, I don't know if I can sell you this many gift cards. Why are you trying to buy all of these gift cards? And it's because they've had so many instances of people scamming older adults, telling them that, you need to pay an X amount of gift cards, or, this is going to be repoed, or, again, with the grandparent scams, Grandma, I need $50 in the Walmart gift card, can you please send me this? So it was nice on that cashier that they were, trying to figure it out, but the volunteer was like, no, I'm trying to make a donation to a nonprofit, that's why I'm buying like 20 $10 gift cards. So no, if people ask you for gift cards, typically it's no good, but give gift cards to heirs, because we give them to older adults. So never wire money. There's zero protection, it's really hard to trace. It's basically the same as if you're giving cash. You give them cash, you wire money. Even if you call, your local non-emergency police department, they won't really be able to get that money back because there's no way to trace it. So it's very hard to recover. So people ask for gift cards, people ask them to wire money, bad. Take nothing else away from this. All that stuff is bad. So the warning signs that, maybe a friend or maybe someone in your community has been affected by this type of scams. Again, that lifestyle changes, that change in finances. We found that 25% of people 70 and older who reported a scam said that they sent cash to family and friends, imposter syndrome. So again, scam artists know that the best way to try and get money out of an older adult is to definitely tell them that maybe their family is in danger, to make them feel like if they don't do something, something bad could happen to someone they love. And especially if you're dealing with an older adult who, again, is isolated, who is lonely, who may have, that memory loss or anything like that, it's very easy to get that money out of them. So talking to people that you know who could be potential victims to this, letting them always know it's okay to tell somebody to wait, it's okay to, call a family member and ask, like, has so-and-so been home? Is so-and-so out of the country? I got a call and they wanted money. Again, nothing to be ashamed about. Scam artists know that shame and embarrassment keeps people from talking, and so making sure that folks feel comfortable to come to you and you feel comfortable to go to them can really help us prevent people from getting scammed. So if you've been scammed, again, contact the police in your non-emergency line, but also contact your bank to kind of discuss next steps. If you've given credit card information or if you sent a check, it is possible to maybe have that transaction canceled if you can get to your bank and contact someone there quick enough. And again, as much as we love our family, it is better to play it safe than find out that, little Johnny was not held in a Mexican jail. So take those calls. So now we're going to talk about a couple of COVID-19 scams. This first one is phony cures. So the Better Business Bureau has received numerous reports of people receiving messages and emails claiming that they can purchase, a cure for the coronavirus. So, scam artists are trying to sell these cures, telling you that they have access to products from the government that the government doesn't want you to sell, so kind of like conspiracy theorist sort of situation. So if anyone is calling you or someone that you know and telling them that, they have these government secrets or, they can purchase something at a high price, they could be giving you false testimonies of someone who took something and now they're better. Just kind of be aware that that's not something available right now. As much as we want a cure for the coronavirus right now, all of that is available is if people are interested getting the vaccine, but besides that, there's no miracle cure. How to prevent this? Again, letting people know that there's no cure for that, deleting emails that are advertising COVID-19 cures, screening your calls and hanging up on callers who are trying to sell you some kind of COVID-19 cure, and then discussing these questions regarding treatments with your doctor. Again, because older adults have been very affected and it has, caused a lot of older adults to become isolated in their homes. I know a lot of our volunteers are older adults, so they've paused from a lot of the activities that they were used to. So of course, if you are feeling desperate, if you are feeling like there's nothing else you can do, a scam artist getting on the phone and telling you like, hey, I have this thing you can take, and then you're able to go back into the world, it can be very appealing. So making sure that people are talking to their doctors before taking any kind of treatment is always the best advice to give a person who might be like, hey, have you heard about this thing? No, I haven't. Talk to your doctor. Our next one is the stimulus check scam. So don't know if we'll be getting any more stimulus checks right now, but when we were receiving stimulus checks, and even if we aren't, there's definitely always an opportunity for scam artists to call people and make people think that maybe this is something happening, but if you give me a little extra money, you could get this stimulus check faster, or if you pay into this, you might be able to receive something. So people were sending fake checks to consumers, asking them to pay a fee to get their money sooner. If someone is calling you, asking you for personal information in order to issue you a stimulus check, or if someone is emailing you a link to verify your identity in order to receive a new stimulus check. Those are all definitely red flags, definitely things to probably delete out of your inbox. What to know to avoid these stimulus check scams? Again, government agencies are not communicating through social media. Most of the time, with the IRS and other things like that, they're going to be reaching out to you through mail, not your email, not through text messages or anything like that. And you do not need to pay for a stimulus check. If we are receiving any more, that's not something that you need to do in order to receive it. So if you have someone calling you saying like, Well, again, you can cut the line, or you can get a special, need case-by-case stimulus check if you send this payment. That is a scam. Not even processing fees. You don't have to pay any kind of processing fees for things like that either. And then fake testing sites. As the COVID tests are becoming more available, it is really easy for scam artists to try and create these fake testing sites. So one story from the beginning of the pandemic was about a self-proclaimed medical marketing company that set up a makeshift testing site in Kentucky. And so they dressed in hazmat gear, and they were charging people $240 per fake COVID-19 test. And so in this example, scam artists were not actually, providing you with real COVID-19 tests. And additionally, these scam artists were not even practicing proper hygiene. So they were using the same gloves in between people and creating cross-contamination. So not only do they have these people's DNA, but they also have these people's personal numbers, and then they also have these people's, financial information, because they charge for something that at the time you could get a COVID test for free, and you can still get COVID testing for free. So again, we're always telling people to discuss a reputable testing site with your doctor, ask for a referral. You can go on the Wisconsin Department of Health and Services and the Milwaukee County Health Department of Health and Services to find testing sites for free testing. And also now we can get those free testing sent to our house as well. So there's definitely a lot of options. So if people are asking you to pay, especially $240, that is probably a scam. And then this may be our last module, but the contract tracing scams. Because contract tracing has become so important in understanding who may have been exposed and who may have not been exposed, scam artists are using this as an opportunity to, again, steal personal information, because that's all they want to do. So contract tracers are typically hired by a state department of public health, and they work with an affected person to get the names and the phone numbers of people they've been in contact with. And these contact tracers will then reach out to those people to inform them that they've been exposed. So, to spot a contract tracing scam, if someone is calling you, telling you like, oh, we've gotten word that you may have been in contact with someone who is exposed, we need your social security number in order to mark you in our system. No. If they're asking you for money, if they're asking for your bank account number, your credit card number, if they're asking you to make a payment because you received this call, all signs that this is probably not a legitimate contract tracer. Also, if they're telling you that they're going to send you a link, or if you get a text saying like, oh, click this to double step your, my bad, I just had a brain fart. If you receive a text and they're asking you to click a link in order to check your status, that is definitely a red flag. Again, typically when these people are reaching out to you, they're not going to be sending you mysterious links through email or through text to know if you've been in contact with someone who is exposed. So how can you report this? Again, calling your local non-emergency police department number, being able to file those complaints with the Federal Trade Commission at ftc.gov/complaint. And you can also copy the message. If you were to receive a text message that seemed a little bit suspicious, copy it and forward it to 7726, so that's spam. And then you can also report it to the Wisconsin Elder Abuse Hotline. So that's that 1-833-586-0107 number. So yeah, I was right. We have made it to the end of our presentation. So to kind of reiterate, did you have questions, sir?
You touched on one, but there are two other things. The first one gets your attention real quick. Mm-hmm. I got home and I hit my button for the message. This is the Internal Revenue Service. Mm-hmm. You owe such and such. You must call within 24 hours. She said, or you'll be taken under custody. Mm-hmm. Now, I knew the woman wasn't even an American, because you're not taken under custody, you're taken into custody.
Ooh, see, they're hoping you're not paying attention to that stuff.
And the other one, about 15 years ago, and I used to do this for my mother, would get medication from Canada, mm-hmm. and it was a third of the cost of what you could get here. Now, I don't believe that you can get medication from Canada, but there may be a fraud where people call you and tell you, you can get your medications, we need your information and this and that, for 1/3 of what you pay now through Optum RX or from your pharmacy or whatever. So that's two others but that IRS one, they will never call you,
Never call you?
they'll never text you, they will always send a letter.
Only by mail.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good to hear too about, again, with that counterfeit medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you're like someone who, older dogs, anybody really, especially now with the pandemic, making a lot of people disabled, if you can get medicine or medical treatment at a fraction of the cost, that's going to be really, appealing to a lot of people. And so I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of those scams with the counterfeit medicine happening because it's been so hard to afford some of the treatment and some of the services that people now need in this post-COVID world. So thank you for sharing.
And there are free COVID tests at Hart Park in
Good.
Wauwatosa, and they have a trailer set up.
Oh, nice.
So I talked to Costa, he's the person that's in charge in Hart Park. Yes, it's legitimate, and they've got hundreds of cars that have come through. So it's, I think, from 11:30 in the morning till about 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know, because I know I've gone to drive-in testing at Menominee Park Valley, kind of by Potawatomi, but it's good to know that there is something closer within the Tosa neighborhood for people to get tested if they need to. Yeah.
Hi, we had, ironically, yesterday, a grandmother scam.
Ooh.
And she claimed to be our granddaughter, and I said, Molly, this doesn't sound like you. And she said, oh, but Grammy, I'm in a car accident, that story. And we kind of figured out, and my husband said, that's a scam. When she heard that, she clicked the phone. But prior to that, about maybe 8 months ago, we got one where the person sounded exactly like our friend, and claimed that the attorney was with him and that he needed $7,000 to keep out of jail. He was in a car accident. The woman was going to sue him, but he wouldn't have to pay. Well, the story went on, and of course, we caught on to that one too, because this person's son was an attorney. So why would he be using another attorney? And he said, well, we didn't want to call any other member of the family, but you were a good friend of his, and he sounded just exactly like the person. So, I mean, we've had it like ours happens to be that type of a scam. But you can kind of figure it out after. And then I did call the police department.
Thanks.
And I reported it, and they said there's no way they can actually check it because of the number they call you on. And I tried yesterday to call that, and it blanks out.
And all these burner
But
numbers.
they'd like to know so that the community hears more, that they can make, people more aware of the community.
Good. Thank you for sharing. Yes, sir?
Yes, we had an experience with a heating contractor where our furnace had a problem. We called them and they attempted to repair it. And the fellow puts a meter in the exhaust port. Oh gosh, he says, we got a reading over 100. Your heat exchanger is bad. You need a new furnace right away. And oh, by the way, if you put in a new furnace, that'll protect you from COVID also. And this was a name brand contractor that's been around for years, but we later found out the business changed hands. And after we called someone else. He showed us the instrument he used, explained how it worked, and instead of a reading over 100, it was 26, and he says, it's just fine. He says, I don't get paid to sell you a $5,000 furnace you don't need. And this was like I say, a heating contractor we knew from the past, but we didn't know it had changed hands. And the worst part is, it's still listed on NARI. The contractor still is.
You could probably place a complaint with the Better Business Bureau, just to say that that was something that happened, and maybe they can investigate that. Because yeah, if they definitely have a name in the community that they're trusted, whoever that person was, and maybe that was just that person trying to do something shady. They're hoping that you're like, well, I trust this, so why would they try to sell me something that
We
I
got
don't need?
suspicious because I had some background in the instrument. I says, well, is that instrument been calibrated? Oh, I don't want to ever hear from you again. Don't ever call me back, because I wouldn't pay him for the second visit.
Hey, you knew too much.
So, it's really tricky. I mean, I had some background area, but what do you do a person who just, oh yeah, okay, and they would never know.
Yeah, and they're just hoping that, you don't know anything, or they're hoping that, you feel too embarrassed to maybe ask too many questions. And once you start asking too many questions, that's when they're like, oh, okay, this isn't fun, wasting my time. Yes?
Why is it that they can use these telephone numbers, and then if you call the police and that they can't get in contact, where are they getting these telephone numbers from that they can use them? and yet you can't trace them.
Yeah, and just all these burner phones, it's so easy now with cell phones to just immediately get a number. I don't know if anyone else has experienced the spam calls where now they can kind of make the numbers where like maybe the first 3 numbers are similar to yours or the last 4 digits are similar to yours. So it's just technology is moving at such a rapid pace, it's hard to keep up with, figuring out where this is all coming from. Scammers are very smart.
Another experience we had, and again, it's really scary. My wife and I enrolled for a class that was sponsored by the Med College. And this was even like going on almost 10 years ago, so technology was much different. And after we enrolled in that class, we were bombarded with mail and phone calls, all related to the condition that was being spoken about in that class. And I talked to Med College and, oh no, we didn't do this or that, but was it a coincidence? And so you really gotta wonder.
Yeah, it's called spoofing a telephone number. And these people can do this by computer, and it's amazing. Now, some of these people are not in the United States. They're either in Eastern Europe or somewhere, India, somewhere where people can speak very, very good English, and you can hardly tell. But they can spoof by computer a company's phone number or something else.
Yeah, there was another scam where people were getting calls from like, We Energies or something like that, because, people were able to spoof it and, they're telling people like, oh, you have a balance on your account, like we're gonna turn, your lights off if you don't pay this money. So we, again, always tell people, if you're getting a number, and even if the number looks really, really, really similar, if you're not aware of whatever they're talking about, it's okay to go like, okay, thank you for, notifying me about this. I will contact, We Energies, and hang up. Directly contact We Energies through their official number and kind of ask, I got this call, is this legitimate? Because if you see a number on your, caller ID, it's sad to say, don't trust even the number on your caller ID, but again, technology has gotten to the point where even if the number does look familiar, it's always better to then hang up and directly call the company yourself just to double check before giving out personal information over the phone. Any other? Yeah.
Yeah, we got hit by about 1.5 years ago by an Amazon fraud. And what it is, my wife had gotten an email saying that it was Amazon, and we had ordered a computer or something, and it was being sent to us. It was a couple $1,000 or so. And if it wasn't correct, she used to call the number that was on the email. Well, she called it, and of course it really is not Amazon. And they kept her on the phone for quite a while. And I was overhearing the call, and I thought something's wrong here, Well, eventually they had a couple of our credit card numbers, and then they wanted us to go to Walmart and buy these gift cards. I don't know why to Walmart, but they were insistent it was Walmart. Well, I knew right away this was a scam, and she hung up on the call, and she did report it to the police. Again, she got another email just last week saying we have a $2,000 camera coming, and of course it's probably the same thing. And the thing of it is, we don't even have an Amazon account.
No, again, it's very scary, and we try to tell people, we're not trying to, fearmonger, or we're not trying to make people just afraid of everything, but it is a reality of the situation that we do have to be really careful. I know one of the tips that I tell people, or even when I'm on the internet, and if I get a link, or if I'm going to purchase something, sometimes you can look in your browser and make sure that there's that little lock where you kind of put in the website, because then you know that, again, it could still not even be legitimate, but you know that that website at least is encrypted, so no one else can get your information besides the website that you're putting that information into. Also, there's a little book in your folders that has a bunch of really neat tips. I can't remember the exact page that it's on, but once you page through it, you'll see. You can type in at Google, there's a Google site. I'll have to find it, and then I'll email it to Julia, and then she can tell y'all. But you put it in, and it kind of tells you oh yes, this site is safe. This isn't a suspicious site. So it's just another way to kind of double check where you're going on the internet. Make sure that before you're putting in any kind of personal information, any kind of credit card information, that it's legitimate. But again, who knows? You can only do so much. But yeah. Just to wrap it up, again, make sure you're using S.T.O.P to recognize and respond to frauds. You know, we have our S for if it sounds too good to be true, it's likely too good to be true. Our T for time pressure. You know, no one should be forcing you to make any kind of snap decisions. O for organize your thoughts and trust your gut. Is this a fraud or is this a scam? And then P, don't be polite. It's okay to say no. It's okay to hang up the phone. It's okay to delete the email. It's okay to close the door. We don't care about scammers over here because they don't care about us.
One question.
Yes.
This was, my memory says a couple of years ago in Art Magazine, if you got a robocall, and as soon as you got it, if you pressed 77, that stopped the whole thing, and then they didn't call you back. And it seemed to work for quite a while, although recently, I'm not so sure. Do you ever hear of that?
I hadn't heard of that, but that's definitely something to look into.
It was a few years ago, like I say. But you had to press, as soon as the call came, you were suspicious, you just press 77, and then they wouldn't keep calling you back again.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Yeah, I really appreciate everybody sharing their stories. You know, again, like I said, we all sometimes, you know, the hope of the scammers is that something happens to us and we get too afraid or too embarrassed to then share that so that they can still, you know, scam other people. But when people share their stories of things that have happened that, you know, allow someone to be on the phone maybe 2 weeks from now, like, wait, so-and-so talked about, you know, having this exact same thing happen to them. Like, okay, maybe let me pause. Let me organize my thoughts right now. So, yeah. Thank you all again. On the slide is our Milwaukee County number, so if you have any questions, any concerns about anything, about our services, about this presentation, then feel free to reach out. And again, thank you all for allowing me to speak today.
Thank you.